Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to dig into an ancient story that honestly works like a masterclass in leadership and disruptive strategy. It's all about seeing value where absolutely no one else does, and you'll be surprised how relevant it is for us today. Let's get into it. So let's start with this question right here. In business and engineering projects, even in our own families, we're taught to spot risk and, well, get rid of it. But what if that process makes us blind? What if we end up writing off assets or people that actually hold incredible untapped potential? This story is basically a strategic analysis of that very problem, the gap between perception and real value. All right, so let's set the stage for this first part of our little case study. You've got a new leader on the scene, a very rigid, established system of power, and, well, a recruit that nobody in their right mind would ever hire. Now, to really get how big a deal this is, you have to understand what a tax collector was back then. This wasn't just some unpopular government job, okay? These people were seen as traitors, plain and simple. They were helping an enemy empire squeeze their own people dry. From a modern business perspective, hiring one would be like knowingly bringing a toxic asset onto your books. It's a guaranteed PR disaster waiting to happen. And then, the move that completely shocks the market. Jesus, this respected teacher, walks right up to Levi, one of these despised men, and with just 2 words, invites him to join his inner circle. Now, this isn't just a nice little gesture. It's a radical, completely disruptive, strategic move. He's not just forgiving a social outcast, he's investing in him. He's seeing a future asset where everyone else just saw a permanent liability. So what's the immediate return on this crazy investment? Well, the new guy, Levi, he throws a big dinner party. But this isn't your average get-together. He brings his entire network, all the other tax collectors, all the other so-called sinners, to the table with Jesus. This is way more than just a meal. It's the beginning of a strategic alliance that turns the whole social order on its head.
And what's so fascinating here is that you can see 2 totally different business models clashing. On one side, you have the established righteous system. It's all about rules, compliance, and keeping unclean people out. Success for them is defined by exclusion. But then Jesus comes along with this physician system. It's mission-driven, it's about including the marginalized, and its success is defined by healing and restoration. 2 completely opposite ways of looking at the world. Of course, as any leader or manager knows, the moment you disrupt the status quo, you're going to get backlash. And it comes right on schedule from the established leaders, the ones who have the most to lose from this new way of doing things. And this complaint comes from the Pharisees. You got to understand, these guys were the experts. They were the guardians of the old system. Their entire identity, their authority, was tied up in that rules-based exclusionary model. In their minds, they were just protecting the integrity of the whole operation from contamination. So their question actually makes perfect sense from their point of view. Why is he eating with these people? To them, this wasn't just bad PR. It was a fundamental violation of their core principles. It was, from their perspective, a catastrophic failure of risk management. And this brings us right to the heart of the matter. Jesus overhears their complaint, and what he says next is, for all intents and purposes, the mission statement that explains his entire strategy. It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. Think about that. His mission isn't to hang out with the people who think they're already perfect. It's to heal the ones who know they're broken. It's a strategy based entirely on need. I mean, a doctor doesn't open a clinic in a town where no one ever gets sick, right? You go where the need is greatest. It reframes the entire goal from maintaining purity to actively seeking out and restoring what's broken. Okay, so let's step back and debrief this for a second. As we unpack the lessons here, there's a really critical diagnosis we have to make, not just about the people in the story, but about ourselves. And here it is. The real danger in this whole story isn't the obvious mess-ups of the sinners. It's the much more subtle poison of self-righteousness. It's the condition that convinces us we're perfectly fine, thank you very much. It's like a faulty sensor in a complex machine. It keeps flashing a green light while the whole system is about to have a catastrophic failure. It makes us the patient who refuses to even see the doctor. For years, I've had a simple little diagnostic tool for this. It's like a daily systems check. I just have to ask myself, am I without sin? And the answer, of course, is always no. But asking the question every day, that keeps the system humble. It recalibrates your perspective and helps you avoid that catastrophic failure that comes from believing you're too healthy to ever need a checkup. What this story does so brilliantly is it reframes the whole idea of sin. It's less like a legal problem where you broke a rule, and more like a spiritual illness that needs a cure. And if that's the case, then Jesus isn't primarily a judge with a rule book. He's the great physician who has come to heal us. That changes everything.
So after all that, what's the bottom line? How do we actually take these principles from a 2,000-year-old story and apply them in our own lives, in our careers, with our families? Well, here's a simple little framework. First, diagnose your own blind spots. Seriously, who are the tax collectors in your world? The people, the ideas, the projects you've just completely written off? Second, get really clear on your mission. Is your purpose, at work or at home, really about serving a need, or is it more about protecting a certain status or image? And finally, choose humility. Actively remember that you're also a patient who needs the physician. That's not weakness. It's the starting point for all real growth.
I'll just leave you with this one last thought to chew on. If the great physician showed up at your company, in your community, or right in your own home today, who would he pull up a chair and spend his time with? The answer to that question might just reveal who is really sick, and, more importantly, who is truly ready to be healed.